Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success. This is your fuel for motivation for today, and today is Tuesday. I'm so excited to be here today with my good friend Matt, and just like every Tuesday, we're going to be talking about life coaching, motivation, and things that immediately affect your life. Today, we're going to be giving you some tools and some information that are going to help you communicate better and deal with people. And what an awesome, uh, it's August something, 12th. Isn't that amazing?
And what's amazing is we're 24 days from the Seattle Mission 25. That's what's amazing.
I know.
And I think there's 19 Fridays, if I'm not mistaken, until Christmas or something.
Wow, 19 Fridays. Hey, so we've got some questions that are in the queue, and we're going to ask in just a little bit that people, email in and text in and so forth, and some from past shows. And I want to remind everyone that if you're on the show live, one of the great advantages of watching the show live is you can ask any question you want, and you can just type it in the chat box over there, click on down below to do the viewer questions, suggestions, or you can email me, mike@mattmaddox.com, or text us at that one number that I can never remember off the top of my head that I'll post in just a little bit.
I want to start the show off with this. I've known you personally. I probably know you as good as, better than anybody except maybe Carol and your family. One thing I can say about Mike Hopkins, this is spur of the moment right here. It just hit me just sitting here as you're doing the introduction, is, I think I've known you maybe 4 years now. Dude, you have by far one of the best attitudes of anybody I've ever met. What's the secret to that, my friend?
Have a good attitude.
I'm
I'm natural.
to have a good attitude.
Pretty much. It's like cowboy up. Look, you're going to be okay. I think a lot of it is just having. I have a lot of faith in people. I believe people generally are good, and I'm an optimist by nature. And Al's right. Attitude is a choice. I can decide to be negative and grumpy or whatever in my situation, or I can decide not to be. So I just tend to look at. I can give you a bit of an analogy. I know some people get frustrated with some of the negativity on, let's say, social media like Facebook and Twitter. And I think I just have this built-in filter because I don't even see that stuff. I scroll through I love looking at my Twitter on Sundays and Mondays, right? And I know there's a lot of negative stuff on there, but I'm seeing hey, we had a record attendance Sunday. We had 26 baptized on Sunday. We had, just all this amazing praise reports across the world, and that's all I see. I just look at that stuff and I just sort of ignore the negative. Maybe that's it. I just have a filter.
Actually, I believe in that because I like the negative I see on social media. I don't let it even get in here. I see it, but then I'm just boom. I don't let that thought take root and let that negative vibe come through Facebook or whatever. I'm not anti-social media. I'm for it. There's good and bad in everything, my friend. Literally, if you want to, you can find the bad in everything. The key is to find the good. Anyways, looking forward. Good stuff, Mike. Looking forward to today's show. This is where you and I bring basic life motivation and life coaching and really help people better their life. So here we are for that reason. I'm excited because I've seen some of the questions that came in about communication. Whoa, what a subject. What a subject. What a subject, man.
We could do a 47 episode series on communication starting right now and still not cover it all. And and everybody can improve on communication. There's no doubt about that. And I've always said it's one of the things that, we take it for granted because we do it all the time, right? We think we're just okay at it because we do it all the time. Most people aren't good at it. Hey, so, and I don't mean that negatively. I'm just saying it's reality. Hey, so the first question is I think everybody needs to get better at communication. I think everybody should study to communicate better. But what is the best advice for someone that needs to do better at communication? Let's say they're watching the show right now and they're like, I'm already convicted. I need to be better at communicating. What's your best advice for that person?
Three things that if you do these three things, you're going to be a much better communicator. Now, understand, most of the things that I teach from experience of what I've done right and clearly what I've done wrong. Mike, let's just start with the basics. Communication 101. Nothing on this planet, hear me? Nothing is more effective than face-to-face communication. Nothing.
Right.
Like there's, and we've talked about this on the show before. So I'm going to leave that kind of just where it is, communication 101. We're in a text world. We're in a social media world. We're in an email world. There's so few actual, what they call in the mob world, like the sit down, like where you sit down and you don't get up until you deal with it. I remember, I want to say, I'll get back to this because I got a story about that. But so here's three things I got to say about how to be a better communicator. Okay, first and foremost, work and be very intentional about being a clear communicator. it's like the other night, Caleb and I were watching movies. Like, Dad, that's that actress that was on that movie. He's like, what movie was it? And I'm like, well, what do you mean that movie? I was like, there's like a million that movies. He's like, the movie we watched. I'm like, Caleb, you got to be clear. So like, as clear as you think you're being, you probably need to be clear. And then even when you think you're being clear, you probably even need to be a little more clear. Like, communication needs to get crystal clear to where if our communication is clear enough, there really should be no room for misunderstanding. There should be no room for confusion if our communication is clear. Problem is, because our world is so fast-paced, because there's so many means of communication that all of us are all plugged to, that very few of us actually slow down, believe me, I've been guilty of this, to communicate clearly. And you actually end up costing yourself more time, money, and energy when you don't communicate clear. So it's better to slow down and do it and go through the grind of communication. You know, being a clear communicator is not easy because it takes time. It takes you. The guys are out doing the lawn right now. I don't know if you can hear it. Speaking of communication, I should go out and ask them to stop. But anyway, so number two, the second thing I'd like to say about communication is communicate in a very kind, loving, a way that people would want to receive it. You know, there's too much harsh communication. There's too much communication that's not done with love, or even when you got to have a confrontation. But a lot of times I've seen people that communicate and like they're very short with people. They're snippy. That's not communication. So I think that the way you say it matters. So I would really work, all of you out there, including myself, I'm like very careful to try to work on how I say things. You know, even if somebody invites you to lunch and you can't go, how you say it matters.
True.
You know, and then number three, the third thing I would say about communication is, believe it or not, real communication comes with good listening. And the reason why people aren't better communicators is because they're not better listeners. And if you want to be a master of communication, become a master listener. Because if you really listen, and I mean really listen, it's going to help your communication. Your communication results are going to increase up to over 90%. You'll save relationships through listening. You know, Mike, the amount of relationships that are severed or destroyed because of a lack of communication or lack of good listening. Too many people get defensive. Right. Too many people justify themselves. Too many people have egos, stubbornness, pride. Those 5 things will kill communication. They'll literally kill your ability to listen. Like real communication is listening. But most people think that communication is talking, and there's a balance there, of course, but a lot of it is really listening. So, bam, there's my 3 pieces of advice right off the top of my head for people that want to be better communicators. You want to anything you want to throw on that, Mr. Mike?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, first of all, the first point was sort of the second, but you sort of had 4. But we'll just go with the first one about getting intentional about clarity and what you said about slowing down. I think that's the key to clear communication. I see a lot of people, and I've noticed it even in my own communication, when there's failure in me communicating something, a lot of times it's because I'm in a hurry and because I'm trying to get the things out so fast. And there's the right word and the right phrase, and then there's the wrong word and the wrong phrase. And sometimes if you just slow down, consider what you're about to say, you can phrase it in a way that's much clearer, and brings much more clarity to the situation. And I think that really helps. And I 100% agree with listening. I've, over the past year or so, I've become very attuned to watching other people communicate. And the biggest failure I see is lack of listening. And I see opportunities just fall by the wayside because people don't listen. And you completely missed a huge cue right there of what they were saying, and because you weren't listening. And a lot of people, they will be quiet while the other person is talking, but they're not listening. They're waiting to talk. And so, you got to actually listen to what they're saying, engage in what they're saying, and then that's and you need to work on it. If you're not good at that, you need to work on it. That's the true key. The question I have for you is,
what's that, my friend?
I'll get to that in a second. How do you work on it?
No, I was about to just throw in there, how you work on better listening is by literally letting people finish, unlike what I just did to Mike. Letting people finish and honestly getting into the practice of repeating back what you heard them say, because there's 2 different types of communication: what was said and what you heard what was said. And I mean, what were you going to say, Mike? You were going to throw something in there.
That technique is called active listening. You can actually watch YouTube videos on how to do it and get better at it. And so you can repeat back what someone said or part of what they said. That reinforces, first of all, it builds a deeper connection with someone because they now understand that you really were listening. And plus now it forces you to a place where you are listening and you're able to communicate more effectively. 2 things I want to get back to. You were going to say something about sit down, but my question for you is, when you say you have 3 items, do you have 3 ready, or do you just assume you'll come up with 3? How's that work?
I never have 3 ready. I just say 3 and I'm going to come up with 3. So that's just kind of a style I operate in. I always think in 3s, and I know that I can think of 3 keys of communication like that, But let me throw this in there, Mike. One more element of communication that's going to be the life and death of all relationships is honesty. Honesty and truth. I mean, truth is truth. And a lot of times when there's lying or deception in communication, it destroys. I mean, literally, your communication becomes completely irrelevant at that point. Whenever you're speaking something that's not true or not honest, or you're twisting words, or you're deceiving, or you're not being straightforward. We all respect straight shooters, right? Now, straight shooters aren't the most popular people in the room, but we all respect them. But the problem with most people, Mike, is they avoid straight shooters because they still have that ego and pride that's not allowing for straight shooters to look at them and say, I got to shoot straight with you here. You're wrong. But that's actually good, healthy communication. But whenever you take communication and you twist, or you're not honest with your words, you literally destroy relationships.
It's good. And going back to a previous point you made about delivering it with the right attitude and delivering it with the right motivation is important. As Karen said, a soft answer, turns away wrath, the Bible says. So being a straight shooter doesn't necessarily mean that you're harsh, right?
Right.
It just means that you're direct in a way that, and you can tell someone something directly with sincerity and without being ugly, mean, or any of those things. So,
absolutely. And I love what Al is saying about vague communication.
right.
Nothing frustrates me more than people that beat around the bush. Like, when they're being vague, honestly, it's probably my biggest pet peeve. I'm like, no, come on. I want to know. Shoot it straight right here. Do not beat around the bush with me, and do not be vague. Just come out and say what you got to say. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those that are close to me understand that that's something that I'm, like, pretty passionate about. I don't like it when people, like, dance around the subject for 20 minutes. I'd rather you just come out and just, with me, you're always better off just being brutally honest. So I tell people that I love brutal honesty here. Even if it closes me up, shuts me down, and I can't breathe for 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? I want it brutal, straight, honest. Not vague is what I'm saying. So I honor Al's. Hey, Mike, a lot of good comments coming over here. This is good.
Yeah.
Very good stuff people are sharing.
Hey, you're going to tell a story about you mentioned sit down communication. Did you want to come back to that?
I want to say it was I want to say I was reading a book about negotiation, and it was actually a really good book, and it was written by I'm not going to say his name right. I think it's Bill Richardson. He's a former governor. I think he's still a governor, maybe, of New Mexico. But he used to be a negotiator for, like, extreme hostile situations. I mean, he literally sat down with Saddam Hussein, people like this. He went in to free, like, Americans that were held hostage, Okay. Anyway, he's got a book. It's extremely powerful, man. I can't remember it. I'll have to find it. I think it's called How to Talk with the Sharks or something like that. It's on my iPad, so I'll have to grab it and maybe bring it back tomorrow on our show. But anyways, he was talking about sometimes you've got to literally say to somebody, we're going to sit down and talk about this, and we're not getting up until it's resolved. If it takes 12 hours or 24 hours, we're not moving until this is resolved. Mike, if more people did that in business and relationships and friendships, we got it all wrong, man. We don't go face to face and sit down like we should and just have the tough talks, and sometimes that's the only thing that's going to salvage or strengthen a relationship is that, hey, sit down, let's hash this out. Let's talk about this. Let's get on the same page. But as you know, Mike, it is extremely challenging to find friends, connections, and relationships that you can have, like, straight, candor, honest, real communication, because most people live way too offended. Most people, the moment you confront them or you stress a disappointment or a hurt, they close up. Rather than our heart should be, I want to know how to please you. I want to know how to make you happy. I want to know what I need to do to make you feel safe. I want to know how I can make sure that I never do this to you again. Rather than taking things so personal. If you are a person that is defensive or you take things so personal, I promise you, it's going to sabotage most of your relationships. Because without openness, without the ability to just have, Mike, in all relationships, you got to have the hard conversations. You got to have the communication that requires just sitting down and talking it out. But unfortunately, you can't have this successfully with people that take things so personal to the point that they get offended and they close up and they hold a grudge and they keep you at bay, and they keep you at a distance. It's very hard to work with those type of people.
Yeah. Sure who this is. comment here. Everyone wants to be right, which is a problem. And that when you talk about being offended, you know, a lot of times in communication, you got to understand that if people, especially in personal relationships, and we're not really dealing with relationships like a Friday issue today, but communication but in personal relationships, oftentimes it's not an objective right and wrong. It's a very subjective situation, and people will draw a black and white line and say this is right and this is wrong and this is the way I feel, and well, there's subjectivity to it, and when you understand that, it's easier to communicate about issues and so forth. I know that's a little vague, and I don't mean to be vague in my communication, but anyway.
Stacy asked a good question. She said, "I'm very candid, and I worry I should be more tactful. Where is the line?" That's good. I mean, that's a really good conversation, Stacy, because I really believe in what the Bible says, and that's speak the truth with love. In other words, there really is a way to say it. And people that are extremely candid and straight to the point do have to be careful with this, because the Bible actually tells us that our speech should be seasoned with grace. And that, you know, we got to follow the golden rule, and that's doing to others rather than doing to you. So really it comes down to talking to people the way you would want to be talked to, A, and B, just making sure that your whole energy and your attitude, even when you're being candid, is not like you're speaking down to that person, or that you're coming out of arrogance, or you're coming like, you know, it's like,
Did we lose Matt? I think we did. Real quickly, I like what Pacey was saying as well. And
just something that straight shooters and very candid people need to work on. And it's not easy for people like that. It doesn't come easy because they just say it. A lot of times there's no filter, and they really don't care like how it comes out or how it felt to that person to receive that. Look, communication can sometimes be piercing. Our words have the ability to put life and death in people. So just be the person that even when you're speaking truth, don't be afraid to give a little bit of encouragement behind the truth. A little bit of maybe reassurance. You know, most people, Mike, do not know how to properly reassure or even encourage. And a lot of this is missing in a lot of relationships and friendships and connections. You know, so it's kind of like, you know, how candid should you be? You know, when someone makes you a cake for your birthday and the cake is dry and it's not moist and the frosting is like hardened, it's really a bad cake. You still there, Mike?
Yeah, I'm here. Technology, amazing. See if we can get Matt back on here. As I was going to say a little bit ago, I like what Pacey's saying about people wearing masks, which is a form of not being truthful. You know, there's one truth. I like what Al said earlier. There's really one truth. There's only one, you know, real truth, but there's a lot of ways to be untruthful. And
I don't know where I got lost. I was in a good flow. I think because of my hand movement, it shut my video down.
No, you were there. It was just your daily momentary drop. It's okay.
That's your daily ejection where you just click eject.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, guys, this is something that I wish we should have been taught from childhood on. It really was, our parents hopefully should have taught us how to communicate. You know, but obviously a lot of us didn't get that. We definitely didn't get it from the school system. So most of us are adults still trying to learn how to communicate. It's something that you'll have to work on for the rest of your life, and continuously make it a priority to master it. Continuously make it a priority to get better at it. And don't be afraid to evaluate. You know the 3 questions I use often. What do I need to keep doing? What do I need to start doing? And what do I need to stop doing? Dare you to go to the 5 people that are the closest to you and say, look, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I want you to shoot me straight. I'm going to make you 3 promises. 1, I'm not going to get mad at anything you say. 2, it's not going to hurt my feelings. And 3, I'm not going to justify or defend myself on anything. I want you to just tell me and I'm going to listen. What should I keep doing in my life? What do you identify the things that I do that are right? What do I need to start doing? Like, what do you see that I should start doing, right? And then what do you see that I should stop doing? Like, do this with your kids. I dare you to take your kids out for ice cream and say, hey, I want to ask you 3 questions, and I promise you, you're not going to make me angry. I'm not going to justify anything. I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to get mad or hurt. I just really want to know. Like, most people don't have the ability to do that, Mike, because of their ego and because of their pride, stubbornness. Man, I want to write a book about those 3 things. Ego, pride, and stubbornness are the 3 relationship killers, my friend. They are bringing people to their knees. They are causing people to miss out on beautiful relationships and connections and success and health and everything in their life that could be much better if they would just not be so ego-driven or so selfish or stubborn or prideful. Like, you've got to be willing to evaluate and ask those 3 questions. What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? And what do I need to keep doing? Ask yourself those 3 questions. I do it all the time. I got a whole list of things I need to stop doing.
If you were to actually do that, if you're watching the show right now and you were to actually do that and go ask 5 people those questions and make them those 3 promises, I'm not going to be offended, I'm not going to get defensive, I'm not going to get mad, and actually keep those 3 promises, that in itself would be an exercise that would help you to be to be a better communicator.
You know what else it would do? Go ahead. I learned to listen. I love you, Mike. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do this with our staff this week. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna ask those 3 questions. So y'all get ready.
Oh, I got my list ready. No, I'm kidding. Hey,
Mike's like, yes. It's been so long.
I totally lost what I was going to say. Forget it. No, actually, so it would be a great exercise because oftentimes, exactly as you were saying, becoming offended is such a barrier to effective communication that as soon as somebody says something that we don't agree with or that we think in some way touches on, if we're defensive all the time, there's no effective communication. You can't effectively communicate when you put up walls of defensiveness. So
people that have been hurt a lot.
Yeah.
People that have been hurt a lot and didn't have loving parents struggle with this the most. To where everything they internalize. It's like, I can say to you I'm disappointed and know that I'm over it in 2 seconds. Like less than 2 seconds. But the person that's been either hurt a lot or had abusive parents or not so loving parents or people that just didn't grow up around a lot of reassurance or encouragement or affirmation, internalize that, and it literally could take them months, weeks to get over it. But I was going to say, Mike, if we could, you would pay, okay, all right, you know what? I'm going to work on this. Mike, if we could, as human beings, let me tell you how we're going to win in all of our relationships. It all comes down to respect. And you want to know something about respect? Nobody gives you respect. You earn respect. And how you earn respect. Do you know that when I say to my son, Caleb, I want to ask you, what do I do as a dad that frustrates you? And he expresses one thing, and I don't get mad, and I don't justify it, and I don't defend it, but I listen. Do you realize that respect is increased? His respect for me is just skyrocketed. Your spouse, your boss, like your subordinates, whatever the case may be, if you could ever really listen without being defensive and really hear someone's heart, they will respect you.
It's true.
And even though it's a crusher for your ego, and you feel like a failure, and you hate the thought of disappointing people that you love, you can really grab a hold of this, my friends. It's actually going to have the opposite effect. It's going to make that relationship stronger. They're going to respect you more, and you're actually going to feel closer to them. So you'll actually come out a winner if you don't defend yourself, and if you don't, get angry or justify, your actions. Really listen without getting offended or defensive. I think, Mike, we ought to dive into communication for about 4 weeks, because I got a lot more to say about people that get defensive and people that that can't take maybe correction or just a straight up like communication. Well, we need to dive into this again next Tuesday and see how it flows.
I'll make a note. Hey, real quickly, one other thing, and Pacey mentioned interrupting, and there was some back and forth between us for the folks that are watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes that don't see the comments. And I just want to defend my co-host and my friend Matt, because sometimes we have a little lag and a little delay between the two video feeds. So sometimes he doesn't know that I'm starting to talk, and there's like maybe a 2-second deal. So it gets a little awkward sometimes from a technology standpoint. So don't feel like he's disrespecting me or interrupting or anything like that.
Mike, come on, boy, man. See, that's how classy Mike is. He's just pure class. That's all there is to it.
And it's the truth.
It's class.
So.
It really is class. When you think of Mike Hopkins, you think of the word class. Homeboy is a class. He's like a Frank Sinatra class. You know what I'm saying?
I wish I could sing like that. But,
if I could sing like Frank Sinatra, it'd be over. It's the only thing I'm missing in my life. I've got everything else going for me. The world is my oyster. The only thing I can't do is sing. That's it. Everything else I got nailed.
You and I should, as a fundraiser, release a Christmas CD.
Oh my God, have mercy. That would be hilarious. You want a duet Christmas? Mike Hopkins and Matt Maddox Christmas? Let's do it. 10 songs, bro. You do the guitar and we'll throw down, man. Go in on I want a hippopotamus for Christmas, my man. And speaking of Christmas, I can't even tell you how in the mood for it I am. Like I'm losing it getting in the mood for it. I know that's bad, and I don't care if it's bad. I'm shooting you straight. I don't care if it's bad.
That's good.
Yeah, not so much, Pacey. The Zumba, I was good at Zumba. I was good at it. I just couldn't feel justified being the only dude in the Zumba class, except the other dude who wasn't really a dude. If you get the hint, my friends. So,
one of those situations where you look around and go, yeah, I don't think I'm coming back here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When he smiles at me more than the girls does, it's time to go to a new class, my friends. Hallelujah. Anyways, well, how do we get there? This show is over. Where's my shoe? Dude looked like a lady. That song, that's how it goes. I love those kind of songs, man. Dude, there's some songs. Go ahead.
I'm going to title this episode, Matt Sings Aerosmith. Okay.
Oh, the 80s, dude. You got to love it, man. Well, that amazing talk show on communication just took a complete crash in the last 3 minutes. Anyways, it was good having you guys, and Mike and I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for Fuel for Success. This is your daily internet talk show. If this was a help to any of you, put it out on your Facebook and Twitter. Text it to your friends. You can watch any previous episode. If you're new today, thanks for joining us. You can go to iTunes and download our podcast on your iPhone or your iPod and get a little motivation while you work out or while you do the dishes or while you clean the garage or clean your car. God bless, my friends. Enjoy your day. And remember to communicate clearly.
We'll see you all tomorrow.